10. Black pastors who got caught using actors for miracles. What if some of the most jaw-dropping miracles you've ever seen weren't divine at all, but carefully rehearsed performances? For years, viral church videos have shown the sick walking, the blind seeing, and the dead rising. But behind the cameras, whistleblowers' leaked footage and court records tell a very different story. Tonight, we break down 10 high-profile black pastors accused of using actors to sell faith as spectacle. This is not an attack on belief. It's a demand for truth. Watch closely, stay until the end, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence, because what you're about to see may change how you view miracles forever. Nana Poku. Nana Poku emerged as a Ghanaian-born pastor operating mainly in South Africa, presenting himself as a fearless spiritual leader whose services promised dramatic encounters with divine power. His ministry gained rapid visibility through viral videos showing intense deliverance scenes, emotional worship, and sensational healings that appeared to resolve extreme conditions within minutes. To loyal followers, these moments represented faith in action. To critics, they resembled carefully staged theater designed to shock audiences and attract attention. Over time, multiple individuals began alleging that certain miracles were rehearsed rather than spontaneous. Former participants claimed they were contacted before services instructed on how to behave and coached to exaggerate illnesses for maximum visual impact. Some alleged payments were promised in exchange for cooperation, while others said compensation was withheld after performances were completed. These testimonies surfaced across separate recordings and interviews, creating a pattern that raised serious questions without offering definitive proof. One widely discussed incident involved a man presented as suffering from an extraordinary medical condition who was reportedly healed on camera. The absence of independent medical confirmation immediately fueled skepticism. Additional footage suggesting church workers privately verifying the outcome intensified public doubt. When young men later claimed they had acted as afflicted congregants and felt exploited, the narrative shifted from spectacle to potential manipulation of vulnerable individuals seeking income or belonging. Where should viewers draw the line between belief and performance? Another controversy expanded the debate beyond alleged staged healings. A circulated video showed Nana Poku engaging in behavior during a deliverance session that many religious observers deemed inappropriate and unethical. The backlash was swift, with condemnation coming from both secular commentators and church leaders. For critics, the incident symbolized what can happen when spiritual authority operates without transparency or accountability. Despite these allegations, Nana Poku maintained a devoted base of supporters. Many dismissed accusations as attacks on faith, arguing that miracles cannot be judged by scientific standards or online clips. They viewed criticism as persecution rather than investigation. Meanwhile, former followers countered that genuine spirituality should withstand scrutiny and that unquestioned power invites abuse. Nana Poku has consistently denied wrongdoing, framing allegations as coordinated attempts to destroy his ministry. No final legal ruling has definitively resolved every claim, underscoring the complexity of separating religious expression from deception. Still, his case remains frequently cited in discussions about modern charismatic movements and the alleged use of actors to simulate miracles. Ultimately, Nana Poku's story reflects a broader tension within televised religion. When healing moments appear scripted and testimonies resemble auditions, audiences are forced to reconsider what they are witnessing. For viewers of faith programming, his rise and controversy pose a question: when miracles look rehearsed, who benefits and who bears the cost? Johnson Suleman. Johnson Suleman has become one of the most recognizable Nigerian pastors of the modern charismatic era, known for large crusades, prophetic declarations, and dramatic claims of supernatural intervention. As the founder of Omega Fire Ministries International, his influence extends far beyond Nigeria, reaching audiences across the United States, Europe, and Africa through television, social media, and packed revival meetings. To admirers, he represents spiritual boldness and divine authority. To critics, he symbolizes the growing fusion of faith, spectacle, and controversy. A major point of debate surrounding Johnson Suleiman involves his teachings on so-called miracle money. During services, congregants have been seen celebrating alerts on their phones claiming unexpected funds appeared in their bank accounts through divine means. Supporters argue these moments reflect biblical faith and modern miracles. Skeptics, however, question whether such scenes are spontaneous or carefully coordinated to produce emotional impact and reinforce belief. Over the years, whistleblowers and online commentators have alleged that certain miracle moments linked to Suleiman were staged or rehearsed. Critics point to similarities across different crusades where testimonies followed familiar patterns and outcomes appeared predictable. One outspoken YouTuber publicly accused the ministry of orchestrating performances to manipulate believers. This accusation escalated into a national controversy when legal action followed, raising concerns about whether criticism of religious figures was being silenced rather than addressed. Beyond miracle-related debates, Johnson Suleiman has faced personal scandals that further complicated public perception. At one point, a woman accused him of inappropriate conduct, claims that later were publicly withdrawn. While supporters viewed the retraction as proof of innocence, critics argued it highlighted the power imbalance between influential pastors and private individuals. These incidents reinforced broader concerns about accountability within megachurch leadership structures. Financial practices have also drawn scrutiny. Like many prosperity-focused ministries, Omega Fire Ministries emphasizes giving seed offerings and sacrificial donations with promises of divine reward. Defenders argue that generosity is a voluntary act rooted in Scripture. Detractors counter that emotional pressure and miracle narratives may push vulnerable followers to give beyond their means. Johnson Suleiman has consistently denied allegations of deception, staging, or misconduct. He frames criticism as persecution against genuine faith and insists that miracles cannot be verified by human logic alone. No court ruling has definitively proven that his miracles were fake, which is an important distinction often lost in online debates. Ultimately, Johnson Suleiman's story reflects a larger struggle within contemporary faith culture. As churches embrace media-driven worship and global visibility, the line between inspiration and performance grows thinner. His legacy, still unfolding, forces audiences to confront an uncomfortable question in an era of cameras and crowds. How can believers distinguish divine power from display? Lesego Daniel. Lesego Daniel became internationally known as a South African pastor, whose ministry drew global attention not through sermons or theology, but through shocking demonstrations that blurred the line between faith and physical risk. As the founder of Rabboni Center Ministries, he cultivated an image of radical spiritual authority, insisting that divine power could override natural laws. For supporters, his services symbolized unwavering belief. For critics, they resembled orchestrated stunts designed to provoke awe and obedience. The most infamous episode occurred when Daniel instructed congregants to drink what was openly identified as petrol, declaring it had been transformed into pineapple juice. Footage showed the liquid being ignited beforehand, yet participants still consumed it publicly. The incident triggered national outrage, official warnings, and removal orders due to fears of harmful imitation. Authorities emphasized that regardless of belief, encouraging such behavior posed serious danger, especially to impressionable viewers. Former observers and critics later alleged that participants in these scenes were not random. Some claimed individuals were pre-selected, coached, and encouraged to comply for exposure or favor within the church. While direct proof of payment has remained disputed, the consistency of similar reactions raised questions about authenticity and consent. Should faith ever demand physical harm to prove devotion? Beyond the petrol episode, Daniel's ministry faced scrutiny for other extreme practices, including claims that congregants were urged to ingest live animals or foreign objects during rituals. Religious leaders across denominations criticized these acts, arguing that spirituality should protect life, not endanger it. Watchdog groups warned that charismatic authority, when unchecked, can pressure followers into compliance they might otherwise refuse. Despite sustained backlash, Lasego Daniel retained a loyal following. Admirers framed controversies as persecution and insisted miracles defy logic. Critics countered that belief does not eliminate responsibility, especially when public acts risk injury or death. The absence of criminal convictions has allowed Daniel to deny wrongdoing, yet regulatory intervention signaled societal limits to religious experimentation. Lasego Daniel's story illustrates how spectacle can overshadow substance in modern televangelism. When belief is tested through shock, the boundary between conviction and coercion weakens. His legacy continues to divide audiences, forcing reflection on responsibility, leadership, and the cost of unquestioned authority. In the end, the controversy is less about doctrine and more about ethics. When miracles appear indistinguishable from stunts, viewers must decide whether devotion is being inspired or exploited for spectacle and control. Such moments remind audiences that spiritual influence carries weight, particularly among the vulnerable. Accountability, transparency, and restraint protect both believers and leaders. Without them, faith risks becoming performance and trust erodes. The lesson remains: simple power demands wisdom, humility, and limits always, especially when cameras are watching, recording, amplifying, and remembering everything forever publicly online. David Owuor. David Owuor is a Kenyan televangelist who built global recognition through massive outdoor crusades, apocalyptic preaching, and claims of extraordinary divine power. As the founder of the Repentance and Holiness Ministry, he presents himself as a prophetic voice calling nations to repentance, moral purity, and spiritual renewal. His gatherings often draw tens of thousands, featuring emotional worship, dramatic testimonies, and highly publicized reports of healings involving blindness, paralysis, and terminal illness. Supporters describe Owuor as uncompromising and divinely appointed, pointing to before and after footage of people abandoning crutches or wheelchairs during services. However, critics argue that the scale and consistency of these miracles invite scrutiny. Over the years, former insiders have alleged that some healings were not spontaneous acts of faith, but carefully managed productions designed to reinforce belief and elevate the prophet's authority. One of the most damaging challenges to Owuor's credibility came from individuals who claimed to have worked inside his media operations. These former associates alleged that miracle footage was selectively edited with unsuccessful healings removed from broadcasts and promotional material. According to their accounts, only positive outcomes were amplified, creating a public image of near-total success that did not reflect reality on the ground. Can a miracle still be trusted when failure is edited out of the story? Additional testimonies from ex-members described a culture of intense control within the ministry. Some claimed they were pressured to give financially despite public messaging that emphasized holiness over money. Others alleged that questioning miracles or leadership decisions resulted in intimidation, social isolation, or spiritual threats. These accounts painted a picture of an organization where loyalty was equated with obedience and doubt was treated as rebellion. Perhaps the most serious concern raised by critics involved health consequences. Activists and former followers accused the ministry of encouraging sick individuals to abandon medical treatment in favor of faith healing. In cases involving chronic illness, including HIV-related conditions, critics argued that belief in complete healing may have led some individuals to stop medication with tragic outcomes, later reported by families and hospitals. The ministry has strongly denied responsibility for such claims. David Owuor has consistently rejected all accusations of staged miracles or manipulation. He maintains that healings are genuine acts of God, and that critics are spreading misinformation to undermine a divine mission. No court ruling has definitively proven that his miracles were fake, an important distinction often overlooked in public debate. Owuor's story highlights the tension between faith and accountability in modern charismatic movements. When spiritual authority is amplified by mass media and emotional spectacle, questions naturally arise about transparency and responsibility. For many observers, his ministry forces a difficult reflection where belief is powerful and hope is fragile. Who ensures that faith heals without harming and truth is never sacrificed for image? Tony Anthony. Tony Anthony became widely discussed in Nigeria after allegations linked his ministry to what investigators later described as a coordinated miracle acting network. Operating through Radiant Army Deliverance Ministry in Lagos, Anthony presented himself as a charismatic healer whose prayers produced instant physical transformations. Videos circulated showing worshipers suddenly regaining movement or strength moments that inspired offerings, loyalty, and public praise from congregations seeking hope. The controversy intensified when a woman named Bose Olasukanmi, a middle-aged accident victim, publicly claimed she had been recruited to act as a disabled congregant during church services. According to her statements, she was approached by intermediaries who promised small payments in exchange for pretending to suffer from physical impairment. Bose described rehearsals where she was taught how to let her arm hang loosely, how to respond emotionally, and when to appear healed during prayer. She alleged that Tony Anthony participated knowingly, placing a towel on her arm and declaring healing as she gradually raised it before the crowd. Bose further claimed she was paid approximately 9,000 naira for the performance, despite later hearing Anthony publicly state he had supported her with a much larger sum. Investigators later reported that she appeared in multiple healing videos linked to different churches, suggesting a wider network rather than an isolated incident. This revelation shifted public focus away from theology toward alleged exploitation of vulnerable individuals driven by poverty. Police involvement followed when Bose was arrested and questioned, and authorities stated that her case exposed a broader syndicate supplying miracle actors to pastors across regions. According to reports, such performances were used to generate emotional reactions, encourage generous donations, and strengthen the perceived spiritual authority of church leaders. While Bose admitted wrongdoing, she emphasized that financial hardship pushed her into repeated performances, raising ethical questions about who benefited most from the deception. Tony Anthony denied orchestrating fake miracles, arguing that he was unaware of any acting arrangement and that testimonies reflected genuine healing. Supporters defended him, stating that churches cannot control every individual who steps forward for prayer. Critics countered that repeated appearances by the same individuals across ministries pointed to deliberate planning rather than coincidence. Although no final court judgment conclusively labeled Anthony's miracles fraudulent, the scandal significantly damaged his reputation. For many observers, the issue was not only legality, but morality. When healing moments are later revealed to involve rehearsal and payment, trust erodes not just in one pastor, but in the wider faith community. Tony Anthony's case remains a cautionary example within discussions of staged miracles. It highlights how religious authority, media exposure, and economic desperation can intersect in harmful ways. Ultimately, his story leaves audiences confronting an uncomfortable reality when miracles depend on performance. Belief risks becoming currency, and faith may be transformed into a transaction rather than a sacred experience. Jeremiah Fufeyin. Jeremiah Fufeyin is a Nigerian televangelist, best known as the founder of Christ Mercy Land Deliverance Ministries, a church based in Delta State that rose rapidly through dramatic testimonies, emotional services, and highly publicized claims of supernatural intervention. To supporters, Fufeyin represents a modern prophetic voice offering healing, deliverance, and financial breakthrough. To critics, his ministry reflects how spectacle commerce and faith can become dangerously entangled. Controversy surrounding Fufeyin did not emerge from a single event, but from a growing accumulation of allegations. Former associates and critics claimed that some miracles performed during services were staged using pre-selected participants who knew exactly when and how to respond. According to these claims, dramatic reactions were designed to reinforce belief and encourage giving. While Fufeyin has consistently denied staging miracles, the repetition of similar accusations over time intensified public scrutiny. Another major point of concern involved the sale of so-called miracle products, including water, oil, soap, and perfume marketed as spiritually effective items. Regulators later warned that some of these products were unapproved and unregistered, shifting the controversy from theology to consumer protection. For many observers, this raised a fundamental question about boundaries when spiritual items are sold. With implied promises, does faith become a transaction? Should miracles ever come with a price tag attached? Public debate escalated when social media critics openly challenged Fufeyin, accusing him of deception and exploitation. Instead of quiet resolution, the conflict spilled into legal threats and lawsuits, further polarizing opinion. Supporters framed the backlash as persecution against a genuine man of God. Detractors argued that lawsuits were used to intimidate critics rather than clarify truth. Adding to the controversy, a pastor once claimed publicly that he had assisted in arranging fake miracles for Fufeyin's ministry, alleging that actors were paid to perform healings. The church denied the accusation, labeling it blackmail, and insisting investigations failed to confirm the claim. With conflicting narratives and no universally accepted legal conclusion, the truth remained contested in the public eye. Fufeyin himself has maintained that his ministry is authentic, spiritually driven, and misunderstood. He insists that testimonies reflect real experiences, and that critics ignore countless believers who claim genuine transformation. This divide highlights a broader issue within charismatic Christianity. Personal testimony is powerful, but it is also difficult to independently verify. Jeremiah Fufeyin's story illustrates how modern faith leadership operates under intense visibility. Cameras amplify every moment, turning worship into content, and pastors into public figures subject to scrutiny. For older viewers who have watched decades of televangelism rise and fall, his case feels familiar. When miracles are questioned, the issue is not belief itself, but accountability. Ultimately, the controversy surrounding Jeremiah Fufeyin forces audiences to reflect on responsibility. Faith can inspire hope, but unchecked authority can invite abuse. Whether seen as a persecuted prophet or a controversial showman, his ministry stands as a reminder that spiritual influence carries consequences. When belief intersects with money power and performance, discernment becomes not just wise but necessary. Angel Obinim. Angel Obinim, the founder of the International God's Way Church in Ghana, is one of the most controversial figures in modern African Christianity. Rising from humble beginnings, Obinim built a massive following through highly theatrical services, bold prophetic claims, and dramatic demonstrations of spiritual authority. To devoted followers, he is a powerful man of God, capable of delivering miracles that defy logic. To critics, he represents how unchecked religious power can slide into manipulation and spectacle. Obinim's ministry became widely known for sensational acts that regularly went viral online. These included claims of transforming spiritually into animals, performing instant healings, and delivering worshipers from curses in dramatic fashion. Videos often showed congregants collapsing, crying, or suddenly regaining movement after prayer. While such scenes energized believers, skeptics questioned their authenticity, noting repeated patterns and exaggerated reactions that appeared rehearsed rather than spontaneous. Over time, allegations emerged that some of these miracles involved paid or coached participants. A prominent Ghanaian political figure publicly claimed that miracle agents were supplied to churches, including Obinim's, to pose as disabled or afflicted individuals before being dramatically healed. According to these allegations, intermediaries recruited people, including minors, trained them on how to act, and placed them strategically in services to maximize emotional impact. These claims significantly damaged Obinim's public image, even as he strongly denied them. Beyond miracle-related accusations, Obinim faced serious legal and ethical controversies. In 2016, he was arrested in connection with a financial dispute involving a large sum of money, bringing law enforcement into what many had previously viewed as purely religious matters. Around the same period, he was heavily criticized for publicly flogging church members during a service, an incident that drew condemnation from government officials and human rights advocates. For many observers, this moment marked a turning point, shifting concern from questionable miracles to abuse of authority. Despite these scandals, Angel Obenem retained a loyal base. Supporters argued that attacks against him were driven by jealousy politics or hostility towards spiritual power. They insisted that miracles cannot be judged by human reasoning and that critics lacked faith. Former members, however, described a culture of fear and control where questioning leadership was discouraged and obedience was framed as a measure of spiritual maturity. Obenem himself has repeatedly rejected accusations of staging miracles or exploiting followers. He claims that testimonies are genuine and that viral clips are taken out of context to discredit his mission. No final court ruling has conclusively labeled his miracles fake, a fact his defenders frequently emphasize. Angel Obenem's story captures a broader dilemma facing charismatic churches worldwide. When faith is mediated through cameras, crowds, and constant performance, the line between divine encounter and entertainment grows thin. His rise and controversy force audiences, especially those who have seen similar cycles before, to reflect deeply when belief becomes spectacle, who holds the power, and who bears the risk. Chris Oyakhilome. Chris Oyakhilome, widely known as Pastor Chris, is one of the most influential black pastors of the modern era. As the founder and president of Christ Embassy, also called Love World Ministries, he built a global religious empire with churches, television networks, music labels, and massive international events. For decades, his ministry has promoted healing, prosperity, and faith-based success, reaching millions across Africa, Europe, and the United States. To supporters, he is a visionary teacher whose words inspire hope. To critics, his prominence raises serious questions about power, accountability, and spectacle. Central to Pastor Chris's reputation are highly publicized healing services. Testimonies often feature dramatic transformations, people rising from wheelchairs, claiming restored sight, or declaring freedom from long-term illness. These moments are professionally filmed, carefully framed, and broadcast worldwide. While many followers accept them as genuine miracles, former members and critics have alleged that some of these events were carefully arranged rather than spontaneous. One of the most damaging accusations came from individuals who claimed they were approached before large crusades and offered money to pose as physically disabled participants. According to these accounts, they were coached on how to sit, move, and respond once prayer was administered. Some alleged that rehearsals took place and that background stories were prepared in advance to make healings appear authentic on camera. These claims suggested a structured system designed to create powerful visual proof of divine power. If miracles are truly divine, why would anyone need preparation behind the scenes? Beyond allegations of staged healings, Chris Oyakhilome has faced criticism for promoting prosperity-focused teachings. His sermons frequently emphasize financial giving, seed offerings, and the expectation of material return. Supporters argue that generosity is biblical and voluntary. Detractors counter that emotional pressure combined with miracle narratives may influence vulnerable followers to give beyond their means, especially when healing and success are presented as rewards for faith. The lavish lifestyle associated with Love World leadership has also drawn scrutiny. Large properties, private jets, and expansive media operations have fueled debate about whether donations primarily serve spiritual outreach or institutional expansion. Critics argue that the contrast between leadership wealth and struggling congregants undermines moral authority. Supporters respond that global ministry requires substantial resources and that success should not be condemned. Chris Oyakhilome has consistently denied allegations of deception or staging. He maintains that healings are real, testimonies are voluntary, and critics misunderstand spiritual matters. Importantly, no court ruling has definitively proven that his miracles were fake, a point often emphasized by defenders. This legal ambiguity keeps the debate alive rather than settled. Ultimately, Pastor Chris's story reflects a broader challenge facing modern televangelism. As faith becomes increasingly mediated through cameras, branding, and global platforms, the distinction between inspiration and performance grows harder to define. His ministry forces viewers, especially those who have witnessed decades of religious broadcasting, to ask a difficult question when belief is broadcast like entertainment: who decides what is sacred and who ensures the truth remains untouched. Alph Lukau. Alph Lukau is a Congolese-born pastor based in South Africa whose name became internationally known after one of the most shocking moments in modern church history. As the leader of Alleluia Ministries International, Lukau built a following through dramatic healing claims, prophetic declarations, and highly produced church services designed for global broadcast. To devoted followers, he appeared as a symbol of extraordinary faith and spiritual authority. To critics, his ministry soon became a case study in how spectacle can overwhelm discernment. Public scrutiny exploded in 2019 after a viral video showed Lukau allegedly raising a dead man during a church service. The event spread rapidly across social media and mainstream news outlets, drawing disbelief, mockery, and outrage. Shortly afterward, individuals identified as relatives of the supposedly resurrected man stated publicly that the person was never dead and had been used as part of a staged performance. Although the church denied wrongdoing, the damage to credibility was immediate and global. Following that incident, several former members and alleged insiders came forward with additional claims. Some stated they were recruited to pretend they suffered from serious illnesses, including paralysis or life-threatening conditions, and were instructed on how to behave before and after prayer. Others alleged they were promised payment or assistance in exchange for participating in these staged healings. According to these accounts, testimonies were rehearsed, filmed multiple times, and edited for use in church media. One particularly troubling allegation involved individuals who claimed they were asked to pretend to be HIV positive for extended periods before later appearing miraculously cured. These statements intensified concerns that vulnerable people, including immigrants and those facing financial hardship, were being exploited for powerful visual narratives. Critics argued that such tactics preyed on desperation, turning human suffering into marketing material designed to attract donations and attention. Lukau and his ministry have firmly denied all accusations of staging miracles or using actors. Church representatives insisted that healings were genuine and that critics were spreading misinformation to discredit a growing ministry. In some cases, legal processes were initiated, but not all allegations resulted in convictions or final rulings. This lack of definitive legal closure allowed both supporters and skeptics to maintain opposing interpretations of events. Despite controversy, Alph Lukau retained a loyal base that viewed him as persecuted rather than exposed. Supporters emphasized faith over evidence, arguing that miracles cannot be measured by human standards. Former members, however, described a culture where questioning leadership was discouraged, and public testimony was carefully managed. Alph Lukau's story stands as one of the most cited examples when discussing alleged fake miracles in modern churches. More than a single scandal, his case highlights the risks that arise when faith performance and media converge. For older audiences who have witnessed decades of televangelism, his rise and fall raise a sobering question: when miracles become content, who is protected and who is ultimately sacrificed for belief? Melody Aja. Melody Aja rose to public attention in Nigeria as the founder of Lightway Ministries, also known as Last Bus Stop, a church that promised dramatic deliverance, instant healing, and visible spiritual power. His services were known for emotional intensity, loud declarations, and testimonies that appeared to confirm miracles happening in real time. For many struggling worshipers, Aja presented himself as a divine solution to sickness, poverty, and spiritual fear. The turning point came when a widely circulated video appeared to show Aja confessing to staging miracles. In the recording, he allegedly admitted to hiring individuals and paying them small but specific amounts to pretend they were sick, possessed, or afflicted so that he could publicly heal them during services. According to the statements attributed to him, these individuals were coached on how to behave when to fall and how to react once prayer was given. The purpose, critics argued, was to create convincing evidence of supernatural power and attract more followers. An alleged accomplice later reinforced the claim, stating that he was recruited from another state to act as a confirmation witness during prophecies. This individual described a system in which participants were positioned strategically within the congregation and cued to respond at the right moment. These revelations shocked many viewers because they suggested organization planning and repetition rather than spontaneous faith. Following the video, Melody Aja was arrested, and the case quickly became a national topic. Aja denied wrongdoing, arguing that the confession was obtained under pressure and that he was being targeted due to a separate dispute involving donations and promises made to local authorities. He maintained that his ministry was genuine and that the accusations were part of an attempt to destroy his reputation. Legal proceedings added another layer. Aja reportedly filed a lawsuit seeking massive financial damages, claiming defamation and unlawful treatment. However, the court ultimately dismissed his case, ruling that recording and presenting confessional statements under the circumstances was legally permissible. As a result, the video and allegations remained part of the public record, significantly damaging his credibility. Despite the scandal, Aja retained some supporters who believed he was a victim of persecution. Others, including former members, said the case exposed how vulnerable people can be manipulated by promises of healing and spiritual power. They argued that offerings collected during staged miracles represented money given in good faith based on deception. Melody Aja's story stands as one of the clearest examples in discussions about alleged fake miracles because it involved confessions, named accomplices, police action, and court rulings. More than a personal downfall, his case highlights the danger of mixing unchecked authority, desperation, and spectacle. It forces audiences to confront a hard truth: when faith becomes performance, trust is often the first casualty. Faith has always been a powerful force, especially within Black communities, where the church has offered hope, strength, and survival across generations. But when miracles begin to look rehearsed and testimonies feel scripted, difficult questions must be asked. Are these moments expressions of genuine belief or carefully crafted performances meant to inspire donations and loyalty? This conversation is not about attacking faith, it's about protecting it. True spirituality should not fear transparency or accountability. So now we turn to you. Do staged miracles destroy belief, or do they simply reveal how desperate people are to believe?